Welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, W-I-Z-E. And today's guest is Butch Phelps, a man who has dedicated his life to understanding the human body, muscles, and how they impact pain and movement. Butch is not your average fitness expert. He's a self-proclaimed muscle nerd with a bachelor's degree in aging science, a licensed massage therapist, an author, and a sought-after public speaker. For over 20 years, Butch has been helping people relieve chronic pain, improve flexibility, and move better for life. His unique approach combines scientific research with hands-on experience, breaking through common myths about stretching, movement, and pain management. In today's conversation, Butch will share his insights into muscle health, the aging process, and why most people approach pain relief the wrong way. Whether you're an athlete, someone dealing with chronic pain, or just looking to stay mobile as you age, this episode is packed with valuable knowledge you won't want to miss. So welcome to the show, Butch Phelps.
Thank you. Glad to be here, man.
A pleasure's mine, man. I'm excited to speak to you about this. So you call yourself the muscle nerd. Where did this passion for muscle health and movement begin?
It actually started in my early 40s, around 41, 42. I had lost like 105 pounds in 1997 into 98. I'd been an athlete in the past, so I thought, well, I'm going to get myself back into shape. And I literally worked my way into a severe low back pain. And to the point that when I'd get out of my car, I would put my hands on the ground to walk out on my hands and then pull myself up by my door handles. And I had been working in corporate America up to that point in my life. Never really studied health at that point. And I went to the doctors like most people do, and I went to therapists, and they would try things, and most things would work temporarily. And I would typically get from my physicians something you may have to live with. And I thought, man, I'm only 41 years old. I can't live with this for the rest of my life. So I decided to go into massage and study neuromuscular and sports massage. And when I got into school, I remember saying to my wife, something really weird is happening. She said, what do you mean? And I said, I just feel like I know things that I don't know how I know them, but I just know them. And things started falling into place. And it was like in my head, I could visualize the muscle system of the human body, like somebody had just put the software into my brain. So I studied that for a couple of years, and I met some people who became mentors of mine. One was a kinesiologist who taught me about the real way to stretch the human body. Others were like a neurosurgeon, a couple of them who started teaching me about the brain's connection to the muscles themselves and how important that is. And I was just smart enough to open my mind, keep my mouth shut, and learn from these people and put these things together. And when I did, and I started working on my own body, the pain stopped and didn't come back no matter what I did. And so I thought, wow, if I can do that for me, what if I can do that for other people? And so I volunteered at a senior friendship center for about 5 years, every Tuesday afternoon. And I was there for probably 2 months, and a couple of doctors. They had 54 retired physicians there at the time working. And after about a couple of months, a couple of doctors came in, sat down. I was having lunch there, and they said to me, what are you doing those people in the room? And I said, what do you mean, good or bad? And they go, no, it's good. We're just amazed at how they're responding and want to know what you were doing. So I took them into the room because I was pretty new at it. And I said, I can show you better and I can tell you. And when I got to the room, I had probably 8 doctors in the room with me. And when I started explaining what I was doing, they were all like, I've never heard anybody talk about muscles like that. And some of them started to show me their x-rays and MRIs to get my opinion on what I thought. And I was kind of blown away because, in my mind, I was just a massage therapist. And here I am having this conversation with people who were far more educated than I. And so I continued to work in the practice and started building as I kept working with people, and I kept getting referrals. I mean, when I started, I had a rent, I think it was $400 for a small room, no clients, no marketing, no anything. And I just started building one client at a time. And before I knew it, I had a full slate of people coming in. And then it's morphed into doing things online, where I had a gentleman from the Netherlands contact me, and he read my articles that I had written. And he was saying, I'm in the Netherlands. Can we do something online? And I'm like, I've never done anything online. So he said, well, what will you charge? And I go, nothing. I want to see if it works. And so we started working, and we still communicate with each other today. That was 2-3 years ago. And what I found was that you could actually do this online. And so I said to him, I'm not the person who's going to touch you and heal you, but I'm the guide. I'm the guide who can show you what to do and make sure you do it right. But you're the one that's going to help yourself. And so that's when I realized that my role was a teacher and a guide, not somebody who's just going to touch you and heal you.
Awesome. What is the biggest misconception people have about muscle pain and stretching?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. One is they think that wherever the muscle pain is, that's where the problem is. And typically with muscles, wherever the pain is, the cause is usually the opposite side or the opposite end. When you think of your body's interconnected from your feet all the way to your head. So you can change something on your feet and affect things in your neck and shoulders. The other misconception is that if my muscles have a brain and so therefore I'm fighting against my muscles. So when you see them do traditional stretching, they hold for long periods of time, 15, 20, 30 seconds, sometimes up to a minute, and they're pulling as hard as they can. And what they don't realize is all they're doing is resistance training, but instead of using a weight, they're using a leg or an arm that they're pushing or pulling against, you see. That's probably the two biggest misconceptions people have.
Okay. How does the brain muscle connection affect movement and pain?
That's the best question right there. When you think about your muscle system, think about the last time you were angry or frustrated, how tense your muscles got. And then think about when you're having a cup of coffee or a drink with a friend and you're laughing and telling jokes, how calm and soft your muscles become. You didn't do anything physically. You just changed your state of mind, but your state of muscle tension changed, you see. So everything that you think, feel, and do actually affects the tension of the muscles. And the reason for that is there's a thing called fight or flight response that everybody knows about. And it's like your brain is constantly trying to keep you healthy. And so it's looking at everything you see and feel and go, is that safe? Is that safe? Is that safe? And if it deems it not safe, then what happens is that the brain says, we've got to put these muscles on contraction alert because we may have to run or may have to go to a fight. And so the brain then is putting everything in your body in a contracted state. So if you live a life where you've got deadline after deadline after deadline, and you've got to meet this person here, and you got to take this person over there, and you're just running around all day long, you're basically living a life of the saber-toothed tiger chasing you 24 hours a day. That's going to affect your sleep. That's going to affect your diet. That's going to affect your whole digestive system, because anytime you're in that state of mind, not only is it tense in your muscles, but you're not going to eat as well. You're not going to digest food as well. And again, you're not going to sleep as well. So it has a real effect.
So can you explain why so many people struggle with flexibility despite them stretching daily?
Yeah. Well, so there's a few things. And it's like, when that mind muscle connection, the muscle itself doesn't have a memory. What we deem a memory in the muscle is a neural pathway that's laid down in the brain. So you shoot a basketball or free throw. When I played basketball in high school, I would shoot 200 free throws a day. And so what happens is you get to a point you can close your eyes, and the brain has a neurological path that knows exactly what muscles at what speed and what power to shoot the ball to put it in the hoop. So when you are looking at trying to become more flexible, people are trying to assume that their muscles have some idea of what they need to do, and they're just reactive tissue. Secondly, they're trying to stretch too many muscles at one time. You go to a stretch class, and many times you can hear them say, tighten your abs, tighten your hips, now roll this way, take your arms over that way. Well, the brain is looking at it and go, okay, you're setting up about 22 different muscles. Which muscle do you want me to let go of? And it's like, so for most people, when you ask them, why are you doing that stretch? I don't know. Bob told me to do that when I was at so-and-so, And so if you don't really understand why you're doing a certain stretch, you can't really feel if you're doing it right to begin with. And it's like, so whenever I give talks, most people, when I give talks that ask me to give a talk, they assume I'm going to come in and do a stretch class. And I keep saying to them, no. What I'm going to do is give them the why. Why do you need to do that? So give you a prime example. Everybody's heard of calf stretches. And so when you think of a calf stretch, you think of like leaning against the wall with one foot back behind you. Maybe you stand on a slant board. Maybe you drop your heel off of a step or a curb. That's not a calf stretch. That's a kind of Achilles tendon stretch. You
Mm.
see the calf muscles, you have 4 of them there, and they control the foot vertically for walking, laterally for balance, and rotation, like if you play baseball or golf or something of that nature. So when we're doing those stretches, number one, we're definitely not stretching the inside outside calf muscle, and we're not getting the upper part of the 2 middle calf muscles. So when you look at things like plantar fasciitis or Achilles tendonitis that people suffer with, even though the pain is in the heel, I find the cause in the upper calves. And I've probably helped 200 people solve that problem within 2 or 3 days. So once you understand how it works, solving it becomes easy.
Okay. What role does aging play in muscle health, and how can we prevent mobility loss as we age?
Absolutely. So at the age 30, we start to lose muscle mass every year, somewhere between 0.8% to 1% per year. So as we age, what we want to be able to do is maintain our muscle mass. And there's a couple of things you do with that. Number one, you want to make sure you're taking in the right amount of protein every day so you can keep building muscle mass. And then you want to work out with resistance training. That can be rubber bands. It could be body weight. It could be lifting weights themselves. You don't have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, but you want to have enough strength in your body that you can get up and down out of a chair. Now, if you're starting out and you're really weak, which most aging people are under muscled, standing up out of a chair without holding onto the handles become very difficult. Just practicing every day of how to get up out of that chair so you can stand up without using your hands is a great way to build muscle strength in your legs. So when you think about that, why should we do that? Well, number one, mobility, obviously. Number two, we're increasing the density in the bones. And number three, your muscles are fueled by glucose. So if you're dealing with a weight issue, the more muscle mass you have, the less fat you're going to have, because the muscles are going to soak up a lot of that glucose. So there's many reasons for doing that.
How can someone reverse years of poor posture or chronic pain?
So poor posture. Now, posture is an interesting thing, and I'm starting to see it more and more in younger people. When we think of like the rounded shoulders, the head forward posture, there's several things that cause that. Number one, how you sit. The muscles on the outside of the chest coming up to the arms can become tight. And when they do, the shoulders round in, the head starts to lean forward. Well, your head weighs about 10 to 12 pounds. So every inch your head leans forward, the pressure on the backside of your neck and down between your shoulder blades increases by 10 pounds per inch. Secondly, as a person's posture gets a little worse, their pelvis will start to tilt forward as well, which can cause compression in the lower part of their back. So the focus on it and trying to fix posture is to address the muscles on the front side of the body. So the outside chest muscles, and learning how to stretch those correctly. A lot of times people, when they try to stretch their chest, they'll have them stand in a corner, or they'll stand in the doorway with their hands on both sides of the doorway. And there's limitations there. I mean, the shoulder blades won't unlock and come on top of each other. So what happens is that you're limited as to how far you can stretch it. Or you'll see a guy at the gym, he'll catch his hand on a bar for a Smith machine or one of the machines in the gym, and you'll see him turn his body really, really hard, and he's pulling. He thinks he's stretching his chest, but what he's doing is strengthening his legs. And so as you start to loosen the muscles on the front side, now when you strengthen the muscles on the back side, they're not fighting with the front side of your body. And you can do that at any age.
Okay. What's another common mistake people make when trying to fix their pain?
Yeah. So in fixing their pain, that involves the mind as much as it does the work. So the work is obvious. I mean, you want to be able to start getting the tension out of the muscles by doing the gentle stretching that I teach. You want to do the self-massage where you're not digging in deep, but you're working with your mind that as you start to feel a little bit of discomfort in the muscle when you press on it, stay there, maintain it so you can still breathe. Don't dig deeper where you cannot. And the breathing then and allowing the brain to relax so the muscle can relax can solve that issue. The second part of that equation is the mind itself. It's like once you've had a pain, let's say you get up in the morning, your back starts to hurt, and you get up 2 or 3 more times, your back starts to hurt. Well, then the next time you get up, you start to anticipate that pain. And so then your brain then tightens the muscles trying to prevent that pain. So there's a two-step formula. There's a physical side to it, but there's also a mental side to that. And then once you put those two together, you can stop that pain and walk away.
Mm. So is there a right way and the wrong way to stretch?
Absolutely, there is. So the wrong way to stretch is what we talked about earlier. People will do what's called traditional static stretching, and that's where you'll see guys. For instance, I just saw one today at the park where he's got his leg up on a picnic table, it's straight out in front of him, and he's standing there talking to his friend. I walked around this circle, which is a half-mile circle, like twice, and he's still standing there holding his leg in that same position. Okay, he's not stretching. What he's doing there is he's actually tightening the muscles in his hips and the muscles in his calf and the leg that's down, because he's having to hold that posture for all that time. When you're stretching the body, if you use your hands, or you can use a yoga strap or a rope that's about 8 foot long, something that's not elastic. That's the other thing. If somebody gives you something elastic to stretch with, put it down and run out the door, because they have no idea what they're doing with that. That's a strength training tool. But use a rope, a belt, or like a yoga strap, and you learn the proper technique to do it. When you're stretching a muscle, instead of pulling hard like you're trying to lengthen that muscle, you're just going to put enough pressure that you can start to feel the tension. You're only going to hold that stretch for about 5 seconds, but as you start to pull the leg or the arm to feel that tension, you want to breathe out and allow your body and your mind to relax. After that 5 seconds, you release it. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of time, which is not. But if you repeat that 10 times, each time you come across, let's say with your leg, for instance, to stretch your hip, the brain then reacts in a way as if it was saying, oh yeah, we've done that before, so that's safe and we feel fine. We'll let that go. And then you'll start to see the leg come over further and further each of the 10 times that you're doing it. And then you switch and do the other side, but you're doing one particular area at a time.
Okay. How did your studies in Asian science shape your approach to muscle health?
A lot, because, I live here in Florida, and of course we have a lot of retirees in Florida, and myself, I just turned 65. And so the thing is that people are always talking to people who are older about slowing down. Well, the thing is that if we're losing muscle mass from 30 on, the older we get, the more we need to speed up. So think of your body like a car. When we're 20, 25 years old, we're like a brand new Ferrari. We're running around like crazy. But as we get into our 50s, we get into our 60s, now all of a sudden, we're not an antique, but we're a little bit older car, 10, 15 years older. Well, a car like that, you have to sort of tinker with it a little bit. You have to do a few things with it to maintain that car. It'll run well, but you got to maintain it. And so the human body is no different. I mean, think of the food that you eat as a fuel. I mean, if you have a car that runs on unleaded fuel, you certainly wouldn't put diesel fuel in it because it's not going to run well. So the body works the same way. We need to put the right fuel in there. We need to make sure that everything is in alignment so that the muscles aren't pulling your body one way or the other. Make sure it's strong enough so that you can get up and down and do the things you want to do. And so when I've worked with people, and I work with lots of people who are 85 plus, there are some commonalities there. And there's wisdom there for all of us to learn from. And the commonalities are they're always learning. They're always active. They're still playing sports and working out. They're always looking themselves at how well are they eating. And they always have a purpose every day. And they always have great relationships. And it's like everybody I've talked to that's 85 plus and really doing well in their lives, they seem to have those commonalities.
Okay. What's one thing you wish everyone knew about their muscles?
I think the biggest thing that I wish everyone knew was that your muscles are not fighting against you. It's a natural process that as we age, you lose muscle mass. And it's like, it's not just going to the gym and lifting weights. It's about fueling your body in a way that's going to help your body build a muscle strength. But also understand that in your life, how you live your life, the relationships you have and what you do for a living, and, are you taking time for yourself becomes important, because with the mind controlling the muscles the way they are, even if you go and you work out at the gym 5 days a week, if you're living a stressful life and you're not eating very well, you're really fighting a losing battle when you do that. And it's understanding that the muscles are more than just a physical thing hanging on the bones.
How does the stress affect muscle pain and tension?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when you look at day-to-day stress, as you were dealing with stressful situations, you're in a rush, you're trying to get there. I mean, so many people I know, and I used to do it myself. You'd run through a drive-through and you get some food in the fast food line, and you get back in your car and you take off. You're going down the road as you're eating a hamburger or a piece of chicken going down the road. And so what happens is you're not digesting your food correctly. That puts stress on the human body. And then with the stress itself of just rushing around all day long, trying to do 28 hours worth of work in 24 hours, you're putting extra tension on the muscles. Well, the muscles are the only thing in your body that applies pressure. In other words, think of a quadriplegic. If his muscles aren't working, he has the same bones you and I have, but his muscles, he can't even hold himself up in a chair. So the muscles is what puts pressure on nerves and disc and joints that can wear joints out, wear disc out, where you get bulging disc and herniated disc and so forth. And it's like, I think we need to take a breath nationwide and just learn to relax our minds so we can relax our bodies.
What's the best approach for someone who's always in pain but doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, best approach I found is, I've got about 180 videos that's free on YouTube at the Muscle Repair Shop. And, I would start there, because what I do in those videos is I start to talk to you about exactly what we're talking about here and why do you hurt. So I go into specific ailments so you can find something, whether it's elbow tendonitis or it's back pain or neck pain or whatever. I did one about a year ago on the 3 reasons you can't lift your arm. I think I've got something like 250,000 views on it or something like that. So the thing is I'm trying to educate people as to why they hurt, why the things that they're doing isn't totally successful. And then what can you do to fix that? And I give them demonstrations in the videos of how to do that. So that's probably the best place to start. I wrote a book called The Stretch and Release, which really talks about the mindset, how the mindset plays with your muscles. And people dealing with chronic pain, mindset becomes important, because there's nothing more frustrating than every day you can't get up and do the things you want to do. I mean, imagine if tomorrow you couldn't get up and come in and do your show, or you couldn't go drive your car and go places. And that plays on your mind. And when that plays on your mind, then all of a sudden muscles then react a different way. And so it's important to understand the mindset to go with that. So, the Stretch and Release book is, if you like to read a book, is more of a manual that talks about those things, the mind muscle connection. Then half of the book is about specific parts of the body, how to stretch them. And there's a QR code there that can follow videos. But that's the big thing, is learning how much your mind plays a role in your chronic pain.
What are the most underrated exercises for longevity and mobility?
So, I mean, one of the things that people think about is they think if they run and run and run and run all day long, that's going to make them A, lose weight, and B, is going to keep them feeling younger. What happens with that is we run in shoes that have really thick soles with arch supports and so forth. And right from the foot itself, we're not allowing the ankle to bend properly, which can lead to things like knee pain. Now, most people think running is bad for your knees. It's really the shoes that we wear and the lack of awareness of how the foot and the calf works. But one of the things that are coming out in studies now and finding is that muscle training with weights or rubber bands actually cause you to lose more weight, because the muscles are fueled by the glucose than actual cardio does. Now, cardio is great for your heart. It's great for your lungs. It's not a bad thing, but if you're trying to lose weight, the weight training is better than the cardio.
How do you personally take care of your own muscles and mobility?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, it's like I go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, usually 5 o'clock in the morning, working on my bigger muscles, my legs, my back, my chest. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work out with dumbbells at my office, working on my biceps, triceps, shoulders, and I'll do some deadlifts with the dumbbells as well. I walk every day, at least 2 to 3 miles. And in between in that walk, I will sprint 4 40-yard dashes. And then when it comes to eating, I'm always making sure that most of my meal is vegetables, so that I can get the fiber. but also at least a third of my meal is protein. And so my goal is to shoot for 100 to 125 grams of protein a day, because I'm 65. And as I get older, I want to make sure I have muscle mass and I have the ability to be able to move. And then I stretch every morning for about 15, 20 minutes when I wake up, because even in bed at night, when we dream and we're rolling around, our muscles are tightening from that. And then I stretch every evening before I go to bed, so that I go to bed and I can sleep better that way. And I always strive for 7 hours of sleep every night.
What's the most shocking or eye-opening discovery you've made about the human body?
I just think that the power of the mind and how it really affects the muscles is probably the number one thing. I mean, even when I talk to physicians about that, and I went back to University of Florida when I was studying aging sciences, and I would talk to my professors about that. I mean, they were surprised by that, and they literally gave me time to teach that in their class, which is because it's not something that's taught. It's not something that's well known, which was surprising to me, because I was thinking, these people are way more educated than I am. And it's like, they should be teaching me this stuff, but yet it's not something that we really teach people.
What's one daily habit that can improve muscle health immediately?
I would say walking, getting out, walking every day, getting out into the sun. Always wear a hat and stuff. Don't go out and get yourself sunburned really bad, because obviously that's bad for your skin. But getting out and walking every day, getting a little bit of vitamin D from the sun, just getting out into, the sounds of nature as you're walking. And a lot of times I remember I was walking on, we have a Siesta Key beach, which is one of the most beautiful beaches in North America. And I would go walk at sunrise many times, a couple of years ago. And it will always amaze me, because as I'm walking, there's no earbuds in my ears. I'm not listening to anything except for the waves coming in, the birds flying over, and just looking at the amazing sunrise. And I was amazed at how many people were walking and running, and they had headphones on, and, they were looking downward. And it's like, you've got this whole amazing thing around you that you're just kind of missing. And I think that we'd have to get back to being more aware of what's around us instead of just drowning everything out. And so I would say just walking in the beginning, that's where I would start. I mean, the average person, I was just reading the other day, they were saying in an article, the average person in America walks 3,000 steps a day. That's about once around your house. That's not a lot.
No, it's not.
So it's like, the biggest things is we got to get moving. We're like freezing up.
Can muscle pain be prevented completely, or is it just a part of life?
No, it won't be completely prevented. And the reason for that is, again, everything you think, feel, and do will cause your muscles to tense, and you'll have little aches and pains. The key to it is understanding that fact, number one. And then number two, understanding little things that you can do to take it back out so it doesn't become something long-term or chronic. It's like we're human beings, and it's like as we do things, we're moving around, trying new things and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with a little bit of soreness in your muscles, or you go, whoo, that hurt my back a little bit, but understand, okay, so it hurt my back because I was picking things up, or I was bending over, working in my garden or whatever. Then, you don't have a back problem. You go, oh my God, I have a back problem. I'm gonna have to have back surgery. Well, no. It's like, once you understand that, well, I was working on my knees in my garden, and so my hamstrings tightened up, or my quads tightened up on the front of my thighs, that set off my back pain. Well, that takes all that stress away, you see. And what people do is they have a back pain, they go on Dr. Google, next thing you know, they think they have this massive surgery and be, quadriplegic for the rest of their lives. And that's just not necessary. All that stress just kills them.
How does nutrition play a role in muscle function and recovery?
Great question. Nutrition plays a huge role, because, you hear people talk about no fat or no carb diets, and which one is better. The real thing is that you want fiber in your diet. So when people say they're on a no carb diet and they eat a salad, they're not really on a no carb diet. They're on a no simple carb diet. Simple carbs are more like breads and pastas and white rices. Complex carbs are more like your lettuces and things you find in a salad. And so the importance of eating the vegetables, which should be around 65-70% of your plate, is that it forms a gelatinous coating on the interior walls of your intestines, and that reduces the absorption of glucose into your bloodstream by as much as 75%. So By doing that, what's important with that is that it reduces the insulin spikes from the pancreas, and that insulin is a hormone that signals to the brain, let's not burn these calories right now. Let's just put it on the side or on his belly. Okay. The second biggest part should be the protein, which should be about 25% or so of your plate, maybe 30%. And then that helps to build muscles. And again, like I said earlier, muscles are fueled by the glucose of the food that you eat. So that extra glucose that does get absorbed goes into the muscles as fuel. And that helps to reduce how much fat's on your body. So when I lost the 105 pounds in 1997 into 98, I had a doctor who taught me about it. And she said, number one, most people are emotional eaters. But when you look at your plate, when you want to lose weight, 75% of your plate should be vegetables, whole vegetables, not stuff with cheese on top and stuff you get in the box, but whole vegetables. Then about 20% of your plate should be protein, and 5% of your plate could be the good stuff, the refined carbs, the breads, the pastas, and so forth. Then once you lose the weight, the key then is how do you maintain that weight loss so that you don't put it back on? Because most people, they lose 25, 30 pounds and they put 40 pounds back on. And so when you want to maintain that weight, what she had me to do was drop my vegetables down to about 65%, increase my protein up to about 30%, and then leave the refined carbs at about 5%. So by doing that from 1998 to 2020, I maintained my weight after losing 105 pounds. And then in 2020, I lost another 30 pounds, and I maintained that weight ever since, following the same rules. So what the diet does is it reduces the inflammation in your body, because if you eat a low inflammatory diet, you're not getting inflammation in your joints, you're not getting inflammation in your spine, and you're not getting inflammation in your brain. And number two, when you up your protein, you're giving more energy to the muscles to actually build the muscles.
What is the most rewarding part of your work in helping people with pain relief?
The best part of my job is to see somebody, whether they're 35 or they're 85, come in my office with a big smile on their face after they've been suffering for months with something, to see in 2 to 3 weeks, they come in and tell me all the fun things they've been doing and how glad they are to be pain-free. That's the most rewarding thing that I do.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone struggling with chronic pain,
yes,
what would it be?
So the first thing I would say to them is you want to learn about your body. When we go to healthcare schools, whether it's medical school, massage school, or whatever, what we're taught is how to treat a symptom. And so if I go in and my arches are sore, the doctor's going to give me an orthotic, or is going to give me an arch support to stop that. And understand that when you do those things for chasing symptoms, like in the case of the sore arches, when you put that in your shoe, now the arch becomes atrophied and weak, and all of a sudden it becomes difficult to walk. So if you understand that when you're dealing with chronic pain, you want to find resources that can help you identify what that is from the muscle standpoint, get the muscles to soften up. Some people believe that hard muscles mean that you're stronger, and it does not. Hard muscles mean that you're stiffer. I mean, have you ever seen a bodybuilder that's been totally flexible? It's a rarity, So the harder the muscles, the stiffer you are. And even if you sit in your chair all day long, your muscles will stiffen up on you. And so getting that movement, and make small movements. You don't have to, if you're 65 and you haven't worked out in 25 years, don't go back to the gym or go do things like you did when you were 18 years old, because you'll just hurt yourself right off the bat. But understanding that with the chronic pain, and realize it's a little bit of a journey to get back, but it doesn't take you that long if you really study and figure out how to do that.
Awesome. Well, we've come to this part of the show where you get the solo screen and you get to plug away and let people know where they can find you, where they get the book, everything.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. So the best way to get the book is go on Amazon. It's like $15, and I price it at $15 so that everybody could afford to buy it. This book is more of a manual, which talks about the mindset of how your muscles work and how your mindset affects the tension in your muscles, and why most treatments don't really work long-term, and then how you can solve that problem. Right off the bat, you can come from here and go to YouTube and go on at the Muscle Repair Shop. And there I've got near like 180 free videos that, again, they dial into specific ailments and how you can solve that. And then finally, I have a newsletter That's on my website at musclerepairshop.com. And in that newsletter, every Tuesday it'll come out, and it'll be about specific ailments. Again, we're talking about why you hurt, why what you're doing is not particularly working for you. And then it comes with 3 videos that are tailored for that specific ailment. So the key to that is that as you get into that process, you start to learn more and more about your muscles. And a lot of times you may hear things that you've never heard before, or you may hear things that you go, oh yeah, but my doctor or my therapist said, don't do that. And always check with your doctor and therapist with it as well. But it's like, sometimes things are just different. And it's like, as I teach that to people, what I get from it is I get a lot of comments back, and you'll see them on my YouTube channel where you really help them. And who knew that a video could do that, but apparently it does. And so that's the best way to reach me. And you have any questions, always send me comments on my sites, or send me my email address is on my website. So you can send something to my email address. And if we're necessary, we can even talk online. So my job is to really teach you how to take care of you.
Oh man, that was great. This has been a great episode. I've learned a lot.
I'm glad.
I'm learning a lot from this discussion, because that's something I'm working on is getting into exercising and walking and everything. I greatly appreciate you coming on the show, and
thank you.
It's been a great time talking to you. You're always welcome back to come.
Thank you.
I love to have return guests. That's something I love having, especially if you have another book or something you want to promote. You can definitely shoot me a message, and I will definitely have you back on. But don't leave just yet.
Okay.
Let me close up, and then we'll talk a little bit off the air. But thank you so much for being such a great guest.
Thank you for having me. I've had a good time with it. Thank you.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you. All right, another episode is in the books. Shout out to everybody who tuned in live. Greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to Stuck in My Mind podcast YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell. Leave comments if you have any questions for Butch or for me. It doesn't matter. Leave us some comments and stuff. And as always, big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Shout out to the boss lady. Love you and appreciate you. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know your boy Wise does it. Peace out.